Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another daily dose of Masters 25 spoilers. And we're nearing the end of spoiler season. Tomorrow we should have the full spoiler, but we still have some spicy stuff to talk about today. A couple of mythics, a bunch of rares, some cool lower rarity stuff. So let's jump right into it, starting with probably the most exciting and definitely the most valuable mythic spoiled since yesterday, Animar Soul of Elements. So this one is just like ultra staple in Commander. It comes in the top 20 most played commanders in the entire format. Gonna be in foil for, I believe, the first time, because it's originally from a Commander deck, no foils in the Commander deck. So a super exciting reprint in that sense. Also worth mentioning, it's like $30 right now. So if you've been waiting to build Animar for Commander, this is gonna be your chance to get in on the cheap, because prices are going to come down a lot. So whether you're looking for a foil for the first time or just to get Animar on the cheap, build a cool morph deck or something, really solid reprint in the Mythic Rare slot. Moving on to our next Mythic Rare, I'm a little disappointed. Out of all the green Mythics, out of all the Innistrad cards Wizards could have chosen to put in this slot, we get Tree of Redemption. Tree of Redemption is a card I like. If you've been following me on Twitter today, I've been talking a lot about this reprint. I like Tree of Redemption. It is not that I don't like Tree of Redemption. It's that it has the same art. It's like a $1 card, so it's not good from a value perspective, and it's not really iconic or nostalgic or any of the things that make 25th Master so sweet. I can deal with low value reprints if they are on point from a flavor perspective, like a Chroma. Chroma is not an expensive card, but a Chroma is very iconic. No complaints about it being printed as a Mythic Rare in the set. Tree Redemption, it's not iconic. It wasn't played in Standard. It's not valuable. It doesn't have new art. There's literally no justification for this card. Well, I guess there is one argument for Tree of Redemption, and that is, it's not Essence of the Wild. So upside there, Wizards actually picked the best green Mythic, or non-flip green Mythic, from Innistrad, but I'm still just super disappointed. If you want Tree, it's already accessible, so I don't get it. I don't understand Wizards. Why? So the problem here is I just really hate $1 Mythics in Master sets. If you're gonna spend $10 for a booster pack, and you're gonna get lucky enough to open a Mythic Rare, that Mythic should not be Tree of Redemption. And I'm not saying every Mythic needs to be Jace, every Mythic needs to be Imperial Recruiter. That just doesn't work. It doesn't need to be that. But even if it was like a $7 Mythic, I would be fine with it, especially if it was on point from a 25th Masters perspective. So I think this is the new Comet Storm. Next Master set, when we get a horrible Mythic, instead of saying it's a Comet Storm, we're going to say it's a Tree of Redemption. So even though I like Tree of Redemption, I'm just very disappointed that Wizards chose to use not only a Mythic slot, but the Innistrad slot. Innistrad is one of the most beloved sets in the history of Magic. It's such a great set, so important to the recent development of the game, and to show off that set in a 25th anniversary Masters with Tree of Redemption is just a slap in the face to Innistrad lovers everywhere. So, apart from not being Essence of the Wild, not much good to say about Tree of Redemption. Moving on to the rares, we got some interesting stuff. Pendelhaven, actually a pretty important card to Modern and even to Legacy. Legendary land comes into play on tap, can pump a 1/1/2/1. Normally shows up in Modern alongside Blighted Agent in the Infect deck, where you're playing Glistener Elf, you're playing Blighted Agent, you're playing Inkmoth Nexus. All 1/1s that can be pumped by Pendelhaven to get in some extra damage. Also shows up in Elves on occasion, because lots of Elves are 1/1s. Kind of a free roll because it's an untapped green source, assuming you play it as a one-of. So a fine reprint, currently around $10, probably going to come down in value a little bit, but still a solid reprint as far as value is concerned in the rare slot. Speaking of value, Pact of Negation, super expensive. It's like $30 right now, even though it's already been in one Master set. And this card is kind of like a fringe staple in the Modern format. It shows up in Ad Nauseam decks as a way to protect your combo. Shows up in Grishelbrand decks as a way to protect the combo. Shows up in Primeval Titan Amulet decks. Not only because it protects the combo, but because you can tutor for it with Teleria West, tutor your Teleria West with Primeval Titan, pick it up with a bounce and then cycle it, or transmute it rather, to get your Pact of Negation. So Pact of Negation, really solid reprint. It's good from a value perspective, it's good from a gameplay perspective, it's certainly iconic and on flavor for a 25th anniversary set, so definitely no problem with this reprint. Actually, Pact of Negation might be the best rare in the set outside of Rishon Import from a value perspective, so definitely a very good reprint. Excited to have more Pact of Negations in circulation. Moving on, we got Vesuvan Shapeshifter, not a high value card, but a super fun card, and a really important card from the perspective of limited in Masters 25. So why is Vesuvan Shapeshifter so important? It is part of an iconic combo deck from Standard Pass, part of the Pickles lock, and the idea here is you get down a Brine Elemental, and then you can use your Vesuvan Shapeshifter, face down, flip it up, you copy Brine Elemental, you make it so your opponent doesn't get to untap their next untap, they just skip that step altogether. Then you can turn Vesuvan Shapeshifter face down, then you morph it back up for 2 mana, keep your opponent from untapping. You can also flip it around to draw some cards, copying Fathom Seer, and then flip it back, copy your Brine Elemental. So it's really cool to see this lock being possible and limited. This is one of the things you can go for, hoping to get all the lock pieces, and then you're good to go with a really cool, unique way of winning the game in Masters 25 Limited. So even though Vesuvan Shapeshifter, not high end, it's a really fun card, super excited to see it returning, especially from a limited perspective. Moving on, we got a ton of just like bulk rares, they're fine. Grenzo Dungeon Warden, can't see playing Commander. It's not a horrible card, it's kind of fun as a commander, very unique, not very valuable though. Fortune Thief, the worship on the body. Luminarch Ascension, if you get lucky enough to open like an Ensnaring Bridge, pretty good way to win the game if you can lock your opponent out. Laquatus' Champion is a card that has janked out some games. I've definitely lost in cube to this card. The 6 life loss comes as a surprise. Even though you gain it back when it dies, usually that 6 life kills you, so definitely worth looking out for in Limited, although not really something that's of value or exciting to open in a master set. Otherwise, Hell's Caretaker, a really weird reprint because it was reprinted in Chronicles, and the Chronicles version is super cheap. However, the more recent printings are actually like $5-6, so not a bad reprint from a value perspective. Do a little bit of reanimating. I'm a big fan of Mystic Snake. It's been reprinted a bunch of times, but the counterspell on the body with potential for blink and flicker shenanigans and like Bant Commander decks, Brago, things like that. Really fun. Is it Chemister? I mean, it's fine. It loots, it does things. Elvish Piper, always worth a few bucks because it is just like an extremely popular casual card, even though it's been reprinted a few times, so cool to see it making a return in Masters 25. Moving on to the lower rarity cards, we got 3 pretty high value commons and uncommons coming in Masters 25. Nettle Sentinel, Pauper staple, Modern staple, Legacy staple if you're playing Elves. It combos with Heritage Druid, really key, like $3 or $4. Great reprint in the common slot, although the price will probably come down a lot. It's still just great to get more supply of Nettle Sentinel for every format, from Pauper to Legacy to Modern. Key card for Elf decks. Promise of Brunri is way more powerful than it probably looks. It used to be a rare, downgraded to uncommon, and we've definitely played this in like white-black tokens, budget Magic, and Modern. Excited to see more of it because it was weirdly expensive just because it was from Kamigawa low supply, and then Ash Barrens is one of the key cards for the emerging Pauper format. One of the best mana fixers, was only in a commander deck, so it was actually like $4 or $5, maybe even more than that. Really expensive on Magic Online as well. So great to see this Pauper support in Nettle Sentinel and Ash Barrens coming in Masters 25. Speaking of Pauper support, there's a bunch more Pauper cards that aren't really valuable, but they're still good to just have more in circulation because they're cards that could become more valuable with these Pauper spikes we've been seeing. So having more of them out there kind of like preemptively keeps these cards from getting too expensive for Pauper. Exclude staple counterspell in blue-black control style decks in the Pauper format. Gets rid of a creature, draws a card. Spike Shot Goblin. Goblins are kind of fringe in Pauper, but they got a lot of support in this set, and Spike Shot Goblin, pretty good Goblin in the Pauper deck. And then Invigorate, classic pump spell, not legal in Modern, but it shows up in decks like Legacy, in fact, also stompy decks in the Pauper format. As far as the rest of our lower rarity stuff, we got a few cards that are iconic and really on point, but not really valuable in any way. Ishin's Shade is one of the representatives of Homelands from the set, and apparently this card was a big deal back in the day. Way before my day, but there were like 3 playable cards from that era of Magic, and apparently Ishin's Shade was one of the 3. along with like Autumn Willow and some other card I can't think of, but that was a long time ago. Merfolk Looter, looting is always good, can't complain about Merfolk Looter, pretty iconic. And then Watch Wolf, kind of been outclassed recently, but at the time when this card came out, a 3/3 for 2 was like, oh my god, this is the biggest power creep of all time. What is Wizards doing? What is going on? So it's cool to see the historical ramifications and the reminder of what a big deal this card was way back in the day when it first came out. So anyway, that brings us to the end of our 25th anniversary Masters daily spoilers for today. So what do you think? Are you going to build an Animar deck now that you have more copies out there? The price is going to come down. How about Tree of Redemption? Am I overreacting? Is it for some reason better than I'm thinking it is as a reprint? How about all the rares and mythics, Pact of Negations, all the Pauper stuff? What are you most excited for? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.